Hello everyone and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 346. Today is Saturday, December 5th, 2020, and I'm glad you could join me today. I feel a little bit like a newscaster, but such is life. So we'll see how this goes. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what's going to end up happening, but you can see the camera is distinct from the computer, which is distinct from my head. Movie magic I lack. But such is life. So what it be? It's a bit of a gloomy day today. So that probably means that I actually do have good light and could record later today, but whatever. There isn't too much that I can do about that. Like, you can't predict how things are going to work out. So I was very, very close to finishing my Isbray sweater this week. However, I knit the first sleeve a little bit too short. So as a result, I am just nearly done with it. And some point soon, I think I'm going to run out of yarn on this sleeve, and then I'll have to put in a little bit more, basically. So once I got a little bit more of the sleeve knit, it sort of shifted a little bit how everything was fitting on my body. So the sleeve length that I thought was okay stopped being okay. And honestly, I think I would prefer for sleeves to be like a little bit, like slightly longer than like a given perfect length than to have them, or whatever. Like, it's okay if you screw up and they're a little bit longer. It's a little bit more annoying when you screw up and they're a little bit shorter than what you were hoping for. So, as a result, I am finishing this bad boy up, but I wasn't quite sure how long it was going to take for me to wrap up this cuff. Here, I'll actually get into frame. I wasn't sure how long it was going to take for me to actually knit this cuff. It probably would have taken maybe more than an hour in order to do that. I'm not even sure. So I concluded that I should just record now with my not finished sweater, and that gives me some time to actually block this bad boy before showing you guys how it turned out. So, win-win overall. I wasn't going to delay recording until Sunday in order to make that happen, so I think it will be okay. So I am knitting the Isbray sweater by Ellie of Skein Knits. This is, a rather sparse colorwork yoke pattern that is very size inclusive, and I've been happy so far with like the techniques that I've ended up learning in the course of knitting the sweater. There were actually a couple of new techniques, which was a welcome surprise. So I got to learn about German short rows, which I hadn't done before, and I got to do the ladder back jacquard. So could come in handy for future colorwork endeavors. So it's looking pretty nice. And actually, I think, and I flopped. Like, I had like the I'm flopped. So because I ended up working on the sleeve first, and now I'm just reworking on the sleeve. And this also gives me a chance to like weave in ends and whatnot, so it's not too crazy. But I finished this sleeve last night, and I believe that I had, at least initially, finished this other sleeve on Tuesday night. I believe that time sequence ends up working out fairly well. But one thing that I did notice was, so like back in like last October, I was working on my linen vitamin D, and at some point during that project, I ended up swapping over to my 9-inch 2mm needles. These are, yeah. And at the time, I thought I had gotten a like forearm pain issue due to like yoga, because it hurt a lot when I was doing yoga. But I'm now fairly certain that I ended up getting this like forearm pain due to working with the large diameter itty bitty circ, which is really frustrating. So I have been rolling to try to get that to be a little bit less angry, but it is also making me a bit angry that I did not correctly diagnose the reason why it was happening, because I am not doing yoga now, and that pain came immediately back. So I don't know, does that mean that I need to find like a knitting obsessed physical therapist? I don't know. So that's sort of frustrating because the sleeves absolutely flew on the sweater, to find out that my preferred way of knitting them doesn't feel good. So that was just like a little bit crazy making. But I think what that boils down to is that I need to, or would it be, like I've never had these problems, or like I've been very, very annoyed to be knitting sleeves on Magic Loop. I just do not like it. and anyway you price it, I just do not like it. But I do really like working on the teeny circs, but if it is hurting me, I probably need to find out a different way of doing things. So there's that. I have knit this out of Volmycel lace in the Mild Blue and Jeans colorway, and the color work is some hackle waste that I had from my recreation of this hat project with other hackled handspun skeins that are back there. So I took the hackle waste from the 3 colors that I ended up creating from the various fibers I had, and blended them into Rologs and spun them, and then plied it with some effort. So we can bring this super close. And you guys can also enjoy the very gorgeous shifting colors from this handspun. So the Rologs were not necessarily evenly sized, so this ends up meaning that the colors are pretty random in the yoke, which I think is pretty cool. And then this is the side with the German short rows, and so since we're able to get some really good close-up shots, you can just see like the small little bits of distortion coming from the short rows. It was significantly less than like a traditional wrap and turn. A German short row is more like artful yarn tugging. So I think that ended up turning out fairly well. So next week I'll be wearing this sweater. If I am clever and studious, I will try very hard in order to actually get this blocking tonight. but what would it be? Knowing that we are in standard time. Sadness. Knowing that we are in standard time, like it just ends up making sense that I need to record earlier and can't set aside the time to do that otherwise. So it's sort of the case where I know, what would it be, knitting deadline wise, if I wanted to have something done for the podcast, it needs to happen Friday night, because I don't tend to actually do a lot of knitting before the podcast, if that makes any sense. And then also sort of interesting how, I don't know, different perspective. So let's see. But this is actually all that I've been working on this week. What is it? So it'll be the case where I was actually pretty surprised that for a sweater that I knit mostly on 2mm needles, that I was able to get it done in less than a month. I guess part of that has to do with the fact that I haven't been spinning as much. So, well, I do have my wheel handy over here. You can't even see. You can't even see the wheel. That it's like, it's close by. Maybe that would be a reason why this particular camera angle doesn't work. But, or would it be? So, I am just as far in that spinning project as I was last week. And maybe it would have been good, or would it be? It is making me think a little bit more with respect to the arm pain issue, that, or would it be? So it'd be the case where what would have been the wiser course of action was actually to maybe have like a little bit more formality around switching gears frequently during the project. So that would be the case of so that would be the case of maybe even like having a timer going so that I spend 20 minutes using the tiny circulars and then spinning for 20 minutes and switching back and forth that way, in order to break it up and give my poor arm a rest. What I also find very fascinating about it is that this arm that's feeling the pain, just very little. So very little. Like my right hand is the one where all of the action is happening, so that would be the case where my right hand is forming loops, my right hand is doing most of the motion when I make a stitch, and then all my left hand is doing is sometimes doing like a little needle lift. So I don't know if there's something weird that's happening with like the sleeve where I'm getting a little bit more stress because the sleeve is wrapping around. I don't know. It's, I wish I knew so I could stop doing it. But would it be? It'd be the case where in order to get the right length of ribbing, I need 22 rows. I don't think I'm halfway there yet. But luckily, I'll still be able to use the same yarn for the bind off. So with this sweater, there were a couple of things that I ended up doing differently. The first thing that I did differently was I selected 1x1 twisted rib. I just really like the look of 1x1 twisted rib. I'm a fan. The other thing that I ended up doing differently from the pattern was the pattern doesn't call for you to bind off in the contrast color, but that's a feature that I have with all of my other colorwork yoke sweaters, and I really like how it looks. This was something that one of my knitting friends at Purdue ended up, or this is a Peggy from Purdue hot tip, was that if you wanted to make the finishing a little fancier, binding off in a different color is a good way to implement that. And so what I ended up doing was knit to the length that I wanted with the wool misa. Then I knit around in pattern with the contrast color, and then I did a bind off row. And I think it looks really nice. The only side effect from that is that I don't have that same tipping on the neckband because I did the folded neckband. But I do super duper love the folded neckband because it is so stretchy. But then once I get it on my body, like it's holding close and looks good and that sort of thing. So it'd be the case where the rest of the structure of the sweater holds pretty nicely with it. So it'll be really exciting to have this off the needles. This will be my third dark blue sweater in a row. And would it be? It'd be the case where it is getting me a decent number of Cal participation points, so I am well within range for Ellie's Skandir Garment Cal 2020, so I will have one garment done for that. And I'm also doing it as a part of the Blamed Under Knit Along, though the active casting on was the was the only thing required in order to qualify for that one. The active casting on and then chattering in the thread. So not that I've been super duper great about the chatter, but I am excited. So this will be really cool. And then I suppose since we have great close-up capabilities, here is how that contrast cuff ends up looking. So luckily both of my sleeves are pretty close to the same color. This one is red with a little bit of purpley bits, and then the other one is more just straight up red. The bind off on the bottom was big enough that there is a little bit more color shifting on this one. So there's purples and blues and reds in the body bind off. So not too crazy. And like I did manage to achieve the positive ease that I was hoping for. I might have been even able to get away with a little bit more, but then it would have taken longer to knit the sweater. Oh well. So in light Rhodope, it was the case where I was planning on starting my next project, and I did end up winding the yarn for it. But I realized that I was going to be using the same size needles as the sweater, so I didn't feel like it was going to be giving me a break to alternate between them. So this is Woolmisa lace in the Ritterspun colorway. Pretty sure. Oh no, I just dropped that in the trash. I think it's Ritterspun. It is sort of bright, cheerful, medium blue with pinkish purple going with it, and we can just barely begin to see some of the purple there, just barely. The impression is slightly more purple in real life, but at least the color looks about right on the screen. So this is going to be a Viajante for my cousin. Looking at the Viajantes of the past, I'm going to be knitting it on 2mm needles. My handspun Viajante I ended up doing on US 3s, but that was a little bit thicker of a yarn than what was called for in the pattern, so shouldn't be too crazy. And then I need to order beads to go with it, so I'll be putting in pearly beads to go with it. It's a pity that I can't just give my cousin the one I already knit, but it's the one that inspired, or the Viajante that inspired her to want it. What would it be? Was the case where I needed to make a lot of repairs to it, so it'd be the case where you can't even wear it in the right way anymore, which is crazy making. So as such, I'll be doing that, and we'll see how long it ends up taking me to do it. Now that I'm also going to be finishing the sweater project as well, I may end up using this as an opportunity in order to figure out what toys I'm going to end up making. So I may just start with 2 of the dragon critters and go from there. We'll see what happens. That shouldn't be too crazy. I'm not sure whether or not I'm like in a hat mood right now, and that would be the other thing that my sister ended up asking for, so I don't know. We'll make it work. Yeah, no, I think I was intending to actually get some spinning done last night, but then ended up working on finishing the sweater instead, so that may be how today ends up going, is, what would it be? Or, who knows? So it does look like, what would it be? Starting Sunday night, my county is going to go into more serious lockdown for COVID-19. So even though the state of California is not forcing them to go into the more stringent lockdown configuration due to case counts in the hospital, they are just preemptively doing it. Or what it would be, the 7 counties in the Bay Area throughout the whole entire time have been, what would it be, much more restrictive and safety minded than their peers around the country, I guess. It was pretty striking to me that, like, in terms of case counts, like per 100 or per 100,000 people in California, San Francisco was 3rd from the bottom. So it would it be? It would be the case where you're like, okay, so on one hand, I probably should go to the grocery store today because it will involve longer lines in order to get in, and I've run out of weird things after my Thanksgiving extravaganza. On the other hand, it may just be absolute chaos and bedlam. The Dear Sweet Lovable one ended up dropping by the store to get a couple of things that he remembered were missing. And if we're gonna have waffles tomorrow, I need to go to the store because all of my pie making has resulted in not having enough flour. So I may have to go to the store, but I'm contemplating making sure that I go to the store after dinner or something like that. We shall see. But yeah, no, maybe there can't be as much knitting today just because of that. So, oh, we'll figure something out. But yeah, no, I'm gonna have to go to the store. So, would it be? And those, would it be? Greater restrictions are going to be going on through the 4th of January, so be whatever. It doesn't change my life too much. So we shall see how everything works out, but it's just like, crap. But I did, or what was it? It was the case earlier in the week. It was like, it looks like things are gonna lock down again. You should get a haircut. So he did succeed in getting a haircut. So I don't have to spend hours badly cutting his hair. It's like a lose-lose. It wastes both of our time, and neither of us are happy about the results. As you do. So, what would it be? I guess we'll see how everything ends up shaking out. I'm like just trying to think of where we'll end up being. What would it be? Of everything that needs to happen or doesn't need to happen or that sort of thing. Sorry. I'm full of shenanigans today. So, we shall see. I don't anticipate any changes to the recording schedule due to new rules. Just means I'm still hanging out at home like I have been for most of the year. So, not too crazy. So, with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye.